Okay, so the photo is confusing. I'm not Harsha. Unfortunately, Harsha has to go on personal emergency, so I came on last minute. I'm Parimala. I look after the enterprise business, fintech business for Slack in India. Today we're going to spend some time on productivity and efficiency, etc. But before that, I would like to ask all the speakers to introduce themselves, their role, responsibilities, and about your company.
So hi everyone, my name is Karan Batra. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Fisdom. Fisdom is a wealth tech company which helps all its customers save their money across mutual funds, stocks, and all other instruments. What differentiates us in this little crowded market is our go-to-market strategy. We work with banks. We partner with over 15 large banks and are the plug-and-play wealth management department for these banks. And we help them with tech, and we also help them with people and help them manage their wealth management business. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Mohan Sushantam. I'm the Chief Data Officer at Vivriti Group. We are a group of two companies right now. One is Vivriti Capital, which is an NBFC. The second one is Vivriti Asset Management, which is into AIFs, which is alternate investment funds for high net worth, ultra high net worth individuals and institutions. Here I'm setting up, I'm part of the data team. I'm setting up the data team actually, trying to use data as much as possible in different domains and trying to see how we can become a data-driven organization. And in fact, the end state is how to boost productivity and optimize it to the maximum using data. Very happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, my name is Anand. I head business and growth at Zolve. So Zolve is a global neobank helping immigrants moving to US get checking accounts, credit cards, etc. while they are here and kind of then start their life when they move to US. So what happens in US is like credit score is super important in the US and they don't take into consideration the Indian credit score. And our thesis has always been that credit worthiness of an individual has nothing to do with their location. It's a reflection of their behavior. So we use like the Indian home country bureau data and then underwrite and issue credit cards for people, students and professionals moving to US. And today we now are open to anyone from the world actually moving to US. So great to be here and talk about productivity because that's
Okay, so I think last few years, it has been, at least last 3 years, I could say it has been a ride of a lifetime where all of us are kind of going through series of surprises, starting with pandemic, and then the corporates face the after effects of that, the year of great resignation, and now the year of great layoffs. So everybody's mind is around cost optimization, efficiency, productivity. These are the buzzwords. And everybody is thinking, how do we ensure that we do more from less, right? So especially now today, my panelists, I would like to spend time with them to see how they are looking at productivity and efficiency in their world, and what are the challenges, opportunities, and then how tools and AI are helping up. We'll take one by one. So first start with Karan. So what is productivity for you and your company, Fisdom, at this stage?
Okay, so I think productivity is something which every organization is trying to work on. And as you said, getting more out of less, or maybe more out of, let's start with the same input and then working to less. For Fisdom, I think productivity is a combination of two elements. One is tools, software, tech, and second is the people aspect. And maybe I'll deep dive into the people aspect. As you said, I think the pandemic changed how work is seen or how productivity is seen. Maybe pre-2020, productivity was a factor of how many hours you were clocking in office. Were you in front of your manager? Was he seeing you work? Were you online in terms of your online ticker? I think that has had a huge, huge change where flexibility in a much broader sense has come into the workspace. And when I say flexibility, and I'm sure a lot of you will agree, earlier if somebody said, I'm working from home, the first thought was he or she is not working. I think that's the first sea change which has happened, that you can work away from office. That's very, very important. So coming to that point, that trust factor has come in, both from the employee and the employer, because the employee also has to work, and the employer has to believe that he or she is working. So I think the way we see productivity, it is not about how many hours you clock in. It's not about are you online. It's about what is your output. And what I mean by that is every employee at Fisdom, and I'm sure for everyone else, for that to happen, it is very important for them to know what is their deliverable, what is their part that they play in the overall story. So one thing that we do, or we emphasize a lot on, is helping each employee understand their role in the larger story of Fisdom, telling them what exactly they need to do. And post that, it is about helping them with tools, and that's where tools come in. So I don't think productivity is a function of tools or softwares. It's about the individual believing that, yes, I need to do this, and having that trust between the employee and employer. And then you put a layer of tools on top to help that employee achieve what he needs to do. So I would say productivity at Fisdom is good, but we are always working on making it better because it's a journey. So yeah, that's how it is.
Of course, productivity, I think, with so many things going on, it's always a journey than an end destination, and keep evolving. So going to Mohan, I think what is the same question to all of you, but what is productivity for you in your company?
I'm glad it's a journey, it's not a destination. If it becomes a destination, we will be out of our jobs. Right? So yeah, at Vivriti, and because we are working across different verticals. So NBFC, we have working capital loans, we have supply chain loans, and we have term loans. So there are 10 different products. Similarly, on the asset management side, we have PTCs, we have MLD. So there are different investment products that we offer to a different set of customers. And then obviously there is a tech team, there is a data team, there is an HR, corporate, finance. So there are N different types of businesses. And for everyone, the meaning of productivity or the key KPI that they are tracking will be different. And that kind of segmentation is always necessary for a RM, for a business RM. Probably the AUM that the RM is driving in a particular year becomes very critical. For a tech team, a number of user stories that they have been able to deliver, the number of products, number of features that they have been able to deliver, that becomes very critical. But see, there are two aspects of productivity as I see it. The one is the effort part, and the one is the outcome part. The effort part is where we try to measure how much of effort did you put, and if that effort was genuine. And even after putting all that effort, and I can talk, let's say, on behalf of the product team, they spent all the effort to do user research, they wrote a BRD, they created the entire document, they went to engineering, and engineering said no. Now, that fellow has put in all that effort. Right? So there has to be a feature, there has to be a weightage given or assigned to the effort part. Obviously, the outcome is disproportionately high because at the end of the day, you have to drive outcomes. And I can talk more from a data team perspective, right? So data team is typically a support function or an enabler. And in some of the organizations, at least we are trying to make it a revenue vertical as well. We just don't want to be the cost center. But then how do you measure productivity, let's say, of a data analytics, data science analytics team, right? So productivity cannot be measured in terms of number of models that I delivered or number of dashboards that I built, right? It has to be closely tied with the business outcomes that I'm driving. And that's what I always tell my team. We are not here to build exotic solutions looking for problems to solve. It has to be the other way around, where there has to be a problem and then we are building something. And the problem can be solved by a plain vanilla scatter plot, or it can be a plain vanilla linear regression model. As long as it's solving the problem and we are delivering the solution in a particular span of time, that is what is productivity for me, as long as it's impacting the top line or the bottom line. And that's the principle we follow at Vivriti as well. There's obviously an effort element, because not everything is dependent on how much of effort you put, but at least you put in that sincere effort. And obviously there are outcomes. And for every team, we have different KPIs. You measure those KPIs, you break down those KPIs in various parts, and that's how you track and move forward with it.
Great. Over to you, Anand. I think I'll introduce him, but I think over to you first. Then when his client can come, I'll introduce him.
Yeah, sure. So I think at Zolve, pretty similar, right? So again, more out of less. But again, the more fundamental aspect is getting the buy-in of the employees on what we mean by productivity. And, a lot of earlier understanding is, hey, I put in a lot of effort and that should kind of be it. But again, to his point, effort and outcome, that's how we look at it. the larger significant focus on outcome versus effort. And just to give you an example, right, I have my credit and collections team, and they can have a productivity metric of, hey, how many calls do I do, or how many messages do I send a day? But that doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because what really matters is how much dollars you have collected from the customer versus how many calls you have done. So it doesn't matter whether you do 100 calls and 10 messages and collect $1,000, or you do only 10 messages and collect $1,000. The ultimate outcome is the business outcome. Of course, from a hygiene perspective, it's important to maintain that kind of an effort outcome. At least tell them that, hey, you're expected to do so much, but keep them as a core part of the decision making. Hey, you let us know whether calling is working or not. Let us know if messaging is working or not. Okay, if calling is not working, should we change the script, right? So the way we again look at it is primarily outcome, effort as more of a hygiene.
Awesome. So, Jatin, thank you for joining us finally. So I think first let's introduce yourself, your company and your role. Then I'll ask you about productivity question.
Hello everyone, sorry for being a couple of minutes late, like the famous Bangalore traffic and the rain. But I'm Jatin, I head product at Axio. And our three most popular products are the Buy Now Pay Later, for which we work with large e-com players, payment aggregators and so on. The second product is personal loans. And third is the personal finance management app, where you can do your spend tracking and so on. This is what we do.
Perfect. So the way we started off is in the new buzzword is productivity and efficiency with the after-effects of pandemic. So everybody asked them what is productivity for them and their company. So just wanted to know what is productivity for you and Axio.
Yeah, productivity essentially, as most of the folks have been saying, that how much effort you're putting on something and what is the outcome you get out of it is probably the plain simple thing. But I can maybe answer what all stuff we have been doing for different teams, right? Post-pandemic, I think mostly we have tried to make conversations async. Of course, using Slack and all that is hygiene, which I'm sure most of the companies must be doing, but we have taken it to the next level by, especially from the product management side, because a lot of stuff keep getting released, and they keeping a meeting for an hour, everybody joins that meeting synchronously here and probably not able to think of all the questions in those meetings and then come back. We have started using tools such as Loom, where you can record it, your face comes, we talk about it, share the video, people comment on it, and they can think and then comment, and you continuously keep getting, you can have a better reach. People can go through that whenever they're free. So in teams like product team, we have done something like this. For tech team, we have changed our structure, in fact. So the unpopular thing is we have gone against sprint, which we feel is, in our opinion, is not productive at all, because you measure something to be done in 2 weeks. What we have done is we create a quarterly OKRs, and we are like, this is the list. Keep finishing stuff, keep picking up, keep finishing and keep picking up, and then continuously keep monitoring. Otherwise, managing sprint, what has to go in, what has to go out itself was taking a lot of bandwidth. And for teams such as sales and collections, there are dashboards internally, and a lot of stuff has been automated, right? So to your point, like in collections, like a case, depending on what is the value, what are the chances that the person is going to pay back, and so on, is how the case is assigned. It's not subjective left to a collection agent and so on to pick up a case. So we push that using algorithms, and that's how we are able to increase or improve the productivity.
Awesome. So I think the ideas are great. Everybody comes with new ideas to improve productivity, but the acceptance of the employees. So the way employer thinks productivity, the way employees accept, there is always a little bit of difference. And Karan, you mentioned about human element and tech element. So I wanted to know, how are you kind of managing this gap between your expectation to your team's understanding and kind of be on the same page?
So it's not easy, to be honest. I think everybody is always trying to achieve that, and that's why productivity or this whole process is a process. It's something where you need to get the buy-in. As I was saying that at the end of the day, technology can only play a supplementary role. If the employee does not want to do something, he or she will not do it. So it's very important to put processes and systems in such a way that you get their buy-in. So I'll give you an example of one or two things that we do at Fisdom. So we have a training called First-Time Manager Training at Fisdom. And the logic behind that is, this is across functions, sales, product. When you manage somebody, it's very important for the manager to be told that just because you're becoming somebody's manager, that doesn't mean you have to keep an eye on them. Or, the basic things of making sure that, they're supposed to do A, B, C. It's about having empathy. It's about, helping them. If you're able to get your managers or your middle level to also believe the same philosophy, then it trickles through the system. So I think that's one of the initiatives that we really focus a lot on to make sure that we communicate to all the employees what is in it for them, why, and how does it help them. And then we ask them what are the tools which will help them deliver. So it's a process, as I said, that it's about constantly touching base, taking feedback. Sometimes, like I'll give you a classic example in sales, and I've spent a lot of time in a bank. I was with HSBC for almost a decade, and one of the things which every salesperson over there hated was the CRM system, because they had to come back and they had to enter into this system which looked so like the color was gray, and I can go on, but the fact is nobody ever asked the salesperson that how is this going to help you? So nobody ever saw that helping them, and that's why adoption was a problem and multiple other things. So it's very important to make sure that, one, you constantly touch base with your employees, speak to them, bring in tools which enable or help them eventually, because no matter what technology or what tool you get, it could be the best in the world. If adoption is not there, it means nothing. So I think the training, constant feedback, having a structured approach where, things like, I'm sure every organization does it, but it's a combination of it. From onboarding to making sure that once an employee comes on board, you tell them exactly what they're supposed to do, what is expected of them, and then what are the enablers for them. Then constantly touching base with them through town halls, through mini workshops which happen. So it's a constant process. And then eventually, hopefully it leads to a state where the employee and the employer somewhat come on the same page, but there will always be gaps. And we have to understand we live in a world where it's not possible where everybody is on the same page. So that's how we are trying to tackle this problem.
That's a very nice way of saying, and I picked that topic of onboarding. I think, Mohan, to you, I think any organization, it's a very overwhelming time for a new employee to join a company. And I think everybody's smart enough, if they have a data to understand what they have to do, they will do it. The biggest challenge is don't know where to go to have the information in hand, either the project they're supposed to take continuation, or where do I start? So how are you kind of doing it today in Vivriti from ensuring that there is absolutely no delay from an onboarding and time taken to learn and then continuation?
Sure. And it's a very non-glamorous solution originally, actually, from a data perspective. If I hire an analyst and tell him that, can you bring all the data together at one place and make the data available? And I don't tell him to build an XGBoost model, right? So it becomes a very non-glamorous solution, but it becomes, from an org perspective, it's an extremely, extremely important place to be in, right? What impacts productivity, how I have observed across organization, be it relationship managers who are dealing with clients, or be it people on the field who are trying to get new leads, is that everything that they want is not available to them at one place. So they have to log into, let's say, a Salesforce system, they have to log into an operations system, they have to log into a collection system, there are n different types of systems available. Some of the data is lying around in Excel sheets, especially true for a lot of companies that are just starting up and setting up their processes. So solving the problem of data availability for a new employee especially, so that he doesn't or she doesn't have to go to 10 different places to get that information, becomes very, very critical. But for a data team, that's not a very cool solution to build, because what are they doing? They're just pulling the data together and maybe creating a visualization on top of it. And that's where a lot of conversations need to happen. A lot of incentive alignment has to happen, saying that this is what is driving the top line or the bottom line for the company. I'm bringing all the data together at one place so that someone doesn't have to spend a lot of time, energy, and effort looking for it. or take a decision for lack of data. I mean, that would be the worst thing to do, right? And secondly, just to add one point to your first question, when you said the employee and the employer, how they look at productivity and how they think things can help. So I was working for Mahindra Finance, this was about four years back, and we built a nice app so that people at the dealerships can create personas of the walk-ins at let's say a car dealership, and then talk to them, give them personalized messages, and the adoption was very, very low, right? And then I was sent on a field visit, and I went to Chandauli. People who don't know Chandauli is in the eastern part of UP. And then I went to a sales rep and asked him, why are you not using the app? And that sales rep told me that, sir, मुझे मत सिखाओ, मैं customer को देख के पता कर लेता हूँ वो कार लेगा या नहीं. That's the answer. So your app is completely useless to me. And app was not useless because we knew that I'm providing data, and those who are using it have ended up with higher productivity. And that's how you sell a solution, right? You cannot sell a solution from sitting in the headquarter. You have to go in the field and align the objective of the app with the incentive of the employee. And that's how we started driving it. We told the employees that you are going to achieve your target in 20 days instead of 25 days if you start using this app. And that's what intrigued them and pushed them to start using the app more and more. It was called Sales Genie. And then that's how the adoption picked up. And that is how you bring the incentives, you align the incentives, you solve the principal agent problem, and that's how you achieve the end result.
Awesome. And I'm a salesperson, and I can definitely feel the way how the salespeople are very proud and the way they do it. So Anand, with respect to the productivity, I know there is an old way of measuring and then the new way of measuring. So what is the structural changes that you're looking to bring in an organization to ensure that it is measured in the right way and for the current scheme of things?
So I'll answer that with an example, right? So traditionally, if I take a function like customer support, they are measured on metrics like AHT, right? Average handling time. Right? Fair enough, reasonable metric for a customer support agent, and maybe also maybe CSAT, they should be measured on that. But maybe for the product team or for the company, larger company, is AHT the right metric? We don't know, because see our customers, at least our TG, are quite digitally savvy. They know how to work with tech and so on. So if a customer support agent can solve a problem, which means the customers themselves should have solved the problem in the first place. So we measure productivity by, or at least the target is to say, hey, we shouldn't get tickets. I don't want to measure AHT. We shouldn't get people on the chat. Yeah. Instagram doesn't have a chat support. Correct. Right? I don't know LinkedIn has a chat support or not, Facebook has a chat support or not, but those companies don't have a chat support. Why should we have a chat support? Why can't customers solve problems themselves? So should a product be kick-ass enough to not let customers come to a chat? Right? That's how, I mean, it's not like I don't think it's impossible to have a situation where there are no customer support agents, yeah. Especially we are a bank and, a lot of transactions happen on a real-time basis. But still, can we reduce focus on that, make customers solve the problem themselves rather than, having the chat agent measured on AHT and rating and so on and so forth. So that's the structural shift we are trying to bring, saying, hey, product team or business team, figure out a product, you keep on a very real-time basis, keep seeing the feedback that you're getting, keep seeing the complaints that you're getting, change the product so that those complaints you don't get, right? So that's the way we are looking at structurally shifting how we look at productivity. Awesome.
So Jatin, I think every single panel today spoke about AI, GPT, etc. So I wanted to know, I mean, everybody saying with the whole AI being there is going to be boost to productivity. So what's your take on help of AI in boosting productivity? Are you looking at utilizing this in a whole new way in your organization today, or you're going on drawing board and how to look at AI in that sense?
So I 100% believe that AI eventually is gonna take productivity to the next level. There is no doubt about it. I believe we have to start embracing it. I feel most of us are not there yet. We are seeing a lot of cool demos and so on. And the issue is that the expectation is 100% sort of correctness. And that's where things are falling apart, right? So it's very weird to call ourselves humans while discussing AI, but I think the problem what we have with us is that when We give a person a task to do. We are okay if the person does some mistake. We, in our mind, think that, okay, this level of margin of error is okay. But when you're paying for a software, especially when you're paying, it's a paid software, then the expectation that the output may not be 100% okay is like zero. So that's where when you get an output and it's not perfect, we just like, it's not working, and we don't go back to it anymore. If we embrace it, be empathetic towards it, that it just keep feeding in, machine learning models are going to improve themselves and the output is going to come. Eventually, one will get benefited a lot. Smaller examples are like this Loom example, what I was just talking yesterday. I was recording a video for one of the demos, and it just prompted me, do you want to delete your ums and ahs from what you're talking? And I just selected that and deleted all that. Instead, think of it, if I go play back all the, like a 3-4 minute video, keep hearing it, again redo it, like do it 10 times to make that perfect video of the demo what I was about to share, it would have taken me a lot of time. This is a smaller example, but places where I think it's going to work amazingly well, where you said generative AI, a lot of my friends are doing startup in this space. So this set of friends I know do a company called Vocalo. What they are trying to do is that they're trying to sell their product to VC firms, research analysts in the companies, where, and I tried the demo myself, it's magic. Basically, you have to go to the tool, write down exactly what you are looking out for in a certain space. So for example, I just write competitive analysis in buy now, pay later in India. It gives me an options, what all companies you want to include, what all companies you want to exclude. It's search first, that is search. I say, okay, exclude these and so on. These are the parameters which we will be analyzing on. Are there more you want to add or reduce? I did that. 3-4 questions, I say generate. In 2 minutes, it generated a PowerPoint presentation generated, not searched and filled. It's real content. 95% of that was 100% correct. 5% there were issues and errors. But I feel if this work was supposed to be done by an analyst, it would take at least a week time to create that report. Now it's a good starting point for them, that it gives them a structure of thought that, okay, this is there, and now they can deep dive, now they can evaluate and see. So this is something which is live. I've seen that working. So just think of it, what is live right now, and like in a decade's time where we will be, right?
Yeah. I think to that point, I think from Slack point of view, we have something called as Midas bot, which we have built, which essentially, I as a salesperson have to waste time to understand what is the usage like with my customer, where are they using, how much messages are sending, how much integration are they doing. It would take maybe 3-4 hours to do that. But this Midas bot that they have built, we just input the account, the information, it gives us in next 10 minutes. It's presentation ready for me to go and present to the customer, but basically saves a lot of time. With that, I think I want to ask Karan, from what are you thinking from GPT point of view, from productivity? How are you looking at, interested to use this technology from productivity boost?
So firstly, I think it's really, really exciting. I think, as Jatin said, we haven't even scratched the surface. So there was a report, I think, from Slack itself, which spoke about that amongst all the developing countries, adoption of AI in the workspace. And I didn't expect India actually ranks the highest amongst all the countries, which was really surprising to see, because I actually didn't think that would be the fact. But when I see it in our own workspace, there are certain functions or departments where the use cases for AI is far more straightforward. So our marketing, content team has been using different tools on AI. Our engineering team has been. But what we've realized, it's the employees who are early adopters themselves who are actually taking this path. It's not necessary that it's every single function which has a structured approach to it. What organizations need to do now is to bring in a structural approach for different departments, because every department has a different requirement which will come in. But productivity, if there's anything which is going to give it a boost, it is AI for sure. I think what we are seeing today, and maybe we don't even have to wait for a decade. Decade is too long when it comes to AI. maybe the next 2 or 3 years, what we know of productivity and at an employee and an employer relationship and everything put together will be completely different. And as organizations, one, you have to be open to change, because a lot of times people feel, or there's that fear that it'll replace people. When internet came in, I'm pretty sure it was the same thought process, and look at where it's got us now. So AI needs to be, the use cases for AI needs to be understood. It has to be programmed in such a way that even somebody who's not an early adopter is actually able to kind of come in and use the tools. And the future looks really, really exciting with AI in place.
Awesome. So the data scientist, I think you will have more use cases than the...
Yeah, I can actually talk about a LLM use case. So we, as I mentioned, that Vivriti Capital is an NBFC, and we are into B2B business, so we lend to mid corporates, right? And these are large ticket size loans in the range of 15 crores, 20 crores, 25 crores, all the way up to 100 crores. So now, how does a typical process work, right? It's very different from a B2C business. So in a B2B business, what happens is, you identify a lead, identify the need, the kind of product do they need, then you talk to the sales team, they collect the application forms, the operation teams get involved. Then if the company's organization is interested, the risk and the credit team will go there, take notes, do the due diligence, the DD process happens, then again operation teams get involved, and then a CIR, a credit note is created, which is presented to the credit committee, which is like the CFO, CEO, and the chief risk officer. And then they take a call on a loan by loan basis whether this loan should be approved or not. Now, our strategy or our way to get new sort of customers is we are going to do this process in a much faster manner than a typical bank does, right? That's the edge that I have over banks. Now, this entire thing, even after doing it in a much faster way, takes about, let's say, 3 weeks. And the most of the time it's spent on creating that credit note, which is like a 40 to 50 page document, which has all the information that is there probably in Tableau dashboards or in the notes that was taken during a due diligence process. So Tableau dashboard will have like the P&L statement, the balance sheets, the cash flow, and all these details, right? But bringing all the data together is now being done by, let's say, by a chartered accountant, by a credit team, by a sales team, and then they prepare their 40-page document where they talk about all the things that the company is doing and whether a recommendation, whether the loan should be approved or not. Now, can I, because all the data is there, all the notes are there, everything is in English, can I build that CIR, credit information report, or credit note for the credit committee in 7 minutes instead of 7 days or 14 days, right? Now, with the same set of employees, I will be able to scale, right? Right now, I have 100 employees who can cater to maybe 200 companies just because the entire process takes 2 to 3 weeks. Now I'll be able to cater to probably thousands or maybe 5,000 companies with the same set of employees, and imagine where my productivity goes. Just because the entire process, because it is so mundane, right? Creating the credit note process, it's a standard process that can be very easily automated, and a summary can be written. And this is something we'll genuinely try once we have the systems and processes. As I said, we are building the base. So my data engineers are building the base for something like this to be done. And once this is done, the credit note process is automated. I'm hoping, and we are hoping, that it's going to be revolutionary. Yeah.
Awesome. I think it's an ocean to uncover so many use cases. Yeah. Same question to you as well. How are you looking at AI?
So we are looking at it in 2 dimensions. One is internally how we use it, and how do we build some customer-facing features using AI, right? So internally, at least ChatGPT has been quite useful. We are, I think, fairly advanced in terms of how we use ChatGPT. I think the one tip is that think of ChatGPT as a very smart new employee you have, who you need to give some more context in terms of what you need, and then you will get it, right? So we actually spend a lot of time on the prompt. Sometimes my prompts are like 10 lines, and it analyzes and gives the output that we need. Like, even for example, we wanted to create a product marketing video, right? And a character animated video. And we were thinking of different scripts. So I got 5 options in 5 minutes. And we could mix and match and come up with a very good script, which was like a professional storyboarder director would have made, right? So we are using it for push notifications to say, hey, give me 10 options. I might not use the exact notification, I'll mix and match. I'll say, give me WhatsApp messages that are quirky, give me WhatsApp messages that are formal. So spend a lot of time on the prompt. So sales team, marketing team, creative team, content team, they started using that. Similarly, Midjourney and DALL-E to get some understanding of what kind of illustrations that we could use. So that is on the internal side. On the external side, as I think Hina mentioned in the previous session about Minty, right? So we've created something called a ZAI. So we have fed in all our chat history from the past, all our FAQs from the past. And so we've created a tool where customers can just come and say, hey, I need to pay a bill. And it'll directly take them to the bill pay. Hey, I need to file a dispute. So let them file a dispute then and there, right? So that we have done, that we have launched. And it just took us like 3-4 days of engineering effort to do that. I wouldn't say it's most refined yet. It's learning and it's building. But we are also using it to create features for the customer.
Awesome. I think I want to add my ChatGPT use case, and absolutely salesperson, and most of the time I spend in reaching out to customer and being contextual. And we end up writing really, really big mails. And what I do is basically I draft my first and put across and tell that ChatGPT, can you please concise this for me and be more contextual with that. It has saved so much of time. I mean, it's unbelievable. I think before I move on and keep asking this question, we have another 3 minutes. Anybody in the audience have any question to the panel? Okay, no questions. All right, so I think as any final remarks, I'll leave that up to you. And that's pretty much it for today. And I think one important thing what Karan brought is balancing between the human element and the tech element and bringing this in the same page. And it's an ongoing journey, not a destination. And that's pretty much what productivity is going to be to uncover. Any final thoughts, please go ahead.
Just one other thought is that, speed is underlying to all of this. So, I mean, I used to be in consulting before this and it was always on speed. So here in FinTech, because the organizations, we are smaller in nature. And to his point, if the employees are aligned in terms of what is the larger outcome and larger goal, let's say, hey, you want to do an experiment, no long decks, no large decks, all of that. Product team also, we don't build anything till it's verified. So, hey, do something in forms or do it manually, doesn't matter. We have Metabase, everyone has access to data. One of the first things that we do is we teach people how to write SQL queries. So anyone in the organization can write a SQL query and the data is on Metabase, dashboards are there. You want to run an experiment, run it for 3-4 days. We know what's working, not working, if it's working, move it to the product team, move to the engineering team to build a feature, otherwise drop it, right? So we focus a lot on speed, which is underlying to all of this.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would just like to put my closing comments around the elephant in the room, which are the regulators. So we are in the area of FinTech. And as we drive towards productivity at a great speed, I think everyone has to ensure that we are not on the other side when it comes to regulators. They are very, very active, very, very evolved, and they are coming up with new set of regulations. I think very recently they came up something around co-lending. And that's what we have to ensure. If the regulator says you have to visit, you have to write the credit note on your own, then probably it can be an assisted model. But the end point is that we have to adhere to the regulations, and all the productivity efforts has to be within the confines of what the regulator set up for us.
Awesome. Karan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, so I think, you kind of stole my words. That is exactly what my personal belief also is, that it's about taking everybody along, making everybody understand what their role is and how to go about it. And productivity then has to be layered with the right tools, with the right systems, which helps in communication, data sharing, and then is when you're able to actually get more with less. Otherwise, it's a constant battle. And about Mohan talking about regulators, I think one thing which I must mention is that because the pace of change in the fintech industry is so crazy in India, most of the regulators, or at least the ones that we deal with, SEBI and others, I have never seen more active regulators in any part of the world. It's a scenario where on a weekly basis, there are maybe 5 to 6 different circulars which come out. And sometimes you're a little worried that the regulator is actually ahead of some of the fintechs. So till the time that doesn't become a reality and the fintechs or the banks and financial institutions are able to kind of be a step ahead, because the regulator's job is more to protect the overall growth in a structured manner. So it's not to derail anybody, but it's about to take care of the smallest, denominator, which would be maybe the end customer or depending on which process it comes. So yeah, so exciting times, and productivity is the journey. It's only going to continue. So yeah.
I'm quite fascinated by the technology where I see the same technologies used in so different ways. Like the example, what you said, you use ChatGPT to make the email concise. And I don't know if you have seen Google I/O where Sundar showed a demo using Bard. They said a frustrated customer who is trying to escalate to an airlines and looking for refund, the email got auto-created, and they're like, can you elaborate it and make it slightly larger, because the longer the email, chances of getting the refund are higher. So using the same technology, it can be used both ways.
Yeah.
And in addition to tech itself, I see a lot of companies such as Slack, you guys have been doing a phenomenal job where a lot of companies are working on tech, but with minor tweaks. The entire huddle feature, somebody goes out, the jazz music it plays. These software things also, I feel, makes work quite productive.
Thank you very much all. I think that's about it. So thank you. Have a great evening.